Hey everybody, welcome back to Tired Old Queen at the Movies. Happy holidays. Now let's go see Steve.
Oh, Johnny, Merry Christmas! Oh, I love it, my favorite time of year. So naturally, I decided to do a Bette Davis movie. So I'm bringing you Bette Davis, Ann Sheridan, Monty Woolley, Grant Mitchell, Billy Burke, Jimmy Durante, Reginald Gardner, and Mary Wicks in The Man Who Came to Dinner. Now, this was based on a Kaufman and Hart play that had been a big success on Broadway. Basically, the plot is this. An influential columnist named Sheridan Whiteside comes to this small town and he's going to lecture. And he's staying with a local family, prominent local family. And as he walks into the house, he falls and breaks his leg. They have to carry him in. This makes national headlines. And he proceeds to disturb and uproot this whole family and the whole community for 2 weeks while he's there.
How do, Mr. Whiteside? I hope you're better.
Thank you. I am suing you for $150,000.
How's that? What?
The character of Sheridan Whiteside was based on Alexander Wolcott, who was this little rotund gay columnist and writer and nightmare. He was a member of the Algonquin Round Table, and he was a thoroughly, really despicable person who knew a lot of fun people around him. Dorothy Parker used to say that Alexander Wolcott would put down the works of Proust, but say that he was wild about this novel called Valiant is the Word for Carrie. And Dorothy Parker said, that's why I left the Round Table. So they based this around him, and they wanted him to play it. He had gone to Moss Hart's house as an unexpected guest for a weekend, and he was such a nightmare as a guest that Hart told Kaufman, and Kaufman said, this is going to be a great play. We're going to work this around it. So Whiteside comes into the house, and he brings all of his friends in. Now there's a character based on Noel Coward.
I've very little time, and so the conversation will be entirely about me, and I shall love it.
A character based on Harpo Marx.
You're gorgeous. You're beautiful. Put me down!
A character based on Gertrude Lawrence.
Darling.
Who's played by Ann Sheridan. Wonderful Ann Sheridan. And his nurse is played by Mary Wicks.
All right. Go back to the Navy.
Mary Wicks was one of the few, and Monty Woolley were the two from the original Broadway cast that they brought out. Betty saw this on Broadway, saw the role of the secretary, Maggie, and thought, I want this because it makes me seem normal. I want you to buy this for me. And Warner's did. Just like Hal Wallace would go out and buy every top play for Bette Davis. She got everything, you know. And then when she got it, she was desperate to get John Barrymore to play Sheridan Whiteside. She wanted him so badly. And they brought him in, and he was alcoholic and probably had Alzheimer's, and he just couldn't remember his dialogue. They did a screen test of him, and it broke Betty's heart. They even held cue cards up, and he just couldn't do it. So then Jack Warner said, I think we ought to get Cary Grant, because Cary Grant had just done, Bringing Up Baby and The Awful Truth, and Betty said, no. She knew they'd be watching Cary Grant. So they went with Monty Woolley.
I didn't wish to cross this cheerless threshold. I was hounded and badgered into it.
Monty Woolley was an old college friend of Noel Coward, and he and the two of them had been gay boys together for years. And Woolley was kind of like Sheridan Whiteside in a way. And very, 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 very gruff all the time, but very gay.
You take your clammy hand off my chair. You have the touch of a love-starved cobra.
And Jack Warner was so afraid that the homosexuality of the character would be so obvious, but nevertheless, they got him. Well, Betty never took to Woolley.
I never felt so much like Christmas in all my life. Don't you, Sherry, dear?
Shut your nasty little face!
Now, to cast Lorraine Sheldon, who's based on Gertrude Lawrence, they cast Ann Sheridan.
Lorraine, my blossom girl!
Annie Sheridan was one of the most underrated actresses in Warner Brothers. Not only was she beautiful, but she had such range. She had a great sense of comic timing. She could be warm and wonderful. She was shooting King's Row at the same time she was shooting this.
It has been so hectic this season. Fun, but simply exhausting. Chuck Whitney, Cary Grant, Barbara Hutton. Just too exhausting. I simply never got to bed at all.
She's so sexy. She wears this blouse that's cut down like this, and it has little hands for buttons holding her blouse together. And they give Betty, again, one of the worst hairdos that she's ever had in her movies. They gave her the worst hairdos at Warner Brothers. I don't know whether the beauticians thought, well, we got to do something. Try this. This one it's that 40s thing. So it's kind of curled here, and then it's up here, and then it's over here, and then it's down here, and it's shaved back here. But it all makes her eyes pop, and that was the major thing with Bette Davis anyway. Make her eyes pop. Maggie has fallen, his secretary has fallen in love with a yokel local, one of these guys that, intellectual women in New York think, oh, he's a country boy, he's really sincere, they're going to be bored by him in about 5 minutes, but it doesn't matter.
Funny thing is, you are sort of attractive in a corn-fed sort of way.
So he's really cute. So Sheridan brings in Lorraine Sheldon to take her away from his secretary. He lures her in because she's staying with Lord Bottomley. And Sheridan goes,
I haven't been able to think of anything else since this awful thing happened, you poor lamb. Ouch, you fool!
So, meanwhile, the two kids in the house, Sheridan has gotten them to leave home. He says to the son, go and follow your dreams. He says to the daughter, you get married and get out of here. You need to get out of here. And the poor father, Grant Mitchell, keeps saying,
Mr. Whiteside, I am giving you 15 minutes in which to pack up and get out.
I cannot do this anymore. Billy Burke, who's the mother's going, oh, now never mind him, Mr. Sheridan. It's so wonderful to have you here. Isn't he really wonderful? Isn't he wonderful? Isn't he wonderful? But
Doesn't that bird brain of yours ever function?
He must be very happy.
the chaos goes on. It builds to this climax, and they have the annual Christmas show. And Bette Davis's character says to Sheridan, don't try to ruin my romance because it's an inconvenience for you that I'm going to retire and marry this guy. Don't do it. And of course, he does everything possible to do it.
You're out of your mind.
Yes, I think I am a little. I'm a girl who's waited a long time for this to happen to her. And now it has.
But everything sort of works out in the long run, and it's high hilarity from one angle to the other. They asked Ann Sheridan, they said, well, how is it working with Bette Davis, And Ann Sheridan was such an easy girl. She goes, oh, Betty's all right. She's just temperamental, that's all. So that's and Betty would come in, I want this here. I don't want that there. Why am I wearing this? Why do she like she always did, she just bulldozed directors. Monty Woolley had a great career as a result of this movie. He went on the next year to make a movie called The Pied Piper, where he plays this educated man who is in Europe during the outbreak of the war, and the refugees are trying to get out of Germany. And he takes up these orphan children, and he leads them across Europe through the Nazi lines and stuff. And it's a wonderful movie based on a novel by Neville Shute. It's just great. He's also really good as the commander in Since You Went Away. He was nominated for both those movies. And later on, when they did the bio of Cole Porter, Night and Day, with Cary Grant as Cole Porter, hello? He played himself. He played Cole Porter's best friends, and gosh, that was false. But anyway, they had a wonderful time, and he was in a lot of movies, and he's in my favorite Christmas movie, aside from this one, The Bishop's Wife. He has a wonderful role in The Bishop's Wife. You remember that from Tired Old Queen at the Movies. Mary Wicks, this was her first movie with Bette Davis. She then went on to play the nurse in Now Voyager. Betty says to her in that one, Dora, I suspect you're a treasure. And then she did a movie called June Bride. And then later in the 60s, when they wanted to Betty was trying to get on television, they did a pilot together called The Decorator, where Mary Wicks played sort of a Thelma Ritter kind of character like the maid, and Betty was still let her hair grow out and tried to do Margot Channing again. And they actually shot a pilot, which was really funny. It's too bad that they didn't get that going.
Fix you some breakfast? Breakfast. Breakfast is a meal designed for ditch diggers and drum majorettes.
Annie Sheridan went on to star in I Was a Male War Bride and do comedy in that. She went on to make some film noirs, Nora Prentice. By the time the 50s rolled around, she had drinking problems. She was not doing so well, but then they gave her a TV show in the 60s, and that's where she passed away. She died pretty early. But this movie was a huge hit. Betty was happy that it was a hit. And Warner's was happy that it was a hit. And for the holiday season, they bring in the Christmas tree, they bring in the chorus. You can't beat Bette Davis, Monty Woolley, Ann Sheridan, Grant Mitchell, Billy Burke, Reginald Gardner, Jimmy Durante, and the delectable Mary Wicks in The Man Who Came to Dinner. Merry Christmas from all of us at Steve Hayes' Tired Old Queen at the Movies.
Let's all go to the lobby.
You're so close. Hit him.
Things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat.